It's time for Lefties Losing It, and the hopeless LA mayor has called for a curfew as the violence and destruction continues. But don't tell Maxine Waters that. No, the veteran Democrat congresswoman claims there's no violence.
Even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot, nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw.
Yeah, no violence, y'all. Just believe Maxine Waters. Don't believe your lying eyes. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi is wondering whether all the violence and arson is the work of mysterious anarchists, or is it just the exuberance of the moment?
When there is a gathering, a large gathering of people, the anarchists see it as an opportunity and they move in. So always have to be careful whether you see a burned car or broken window or whatever it is. It may be the exuberance of the moment, but it may be the anarchist setting in.
Exuberance of the moment. Unbelievable. But the lies did not stop there from Nancy. She also said this earlier today, and what you're about to hear is the opposite of what actually happened on January 6th. You know, the only riot in the past decade the Democrats haven't loved.
On January 6th, with violence against the Constitution, against the Congress, and against the United States Capitol, we begged the President of the United States to send in the National Guard. He would not do it. Not only would he not do it, when law enforcement people were being harmed, some later died, he would not send it in.
Where does one start? No, Nancy did not request the National Guard. It was Donald Trump who urged their use. It was Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker then, who ignored that urging and ignored the desperate calls of the Capitol Police Chief, who wanted backup. And of course, no cops were killed on January 6th or because of January 6th. All these people do is lie. And these protests, these riots are spreading to other Democrat strongholds like New York, Chicago, San Francisco. Let's see this interaction in New York, and doesn't this sum up the anti-Trump left? Watch these two white protesters mock a black woman who just wants to go to work to feed her kids.
I don't care. I know, and these people are having their children taken. But what about my kids? Today.
Look at this.
And what happens to my kids? I can't help it. This is what. But you can if you could just move out the way. We're not going to. How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do?
Not only do they ignore her pleas and lecture her that this is peace as they block the roads, they then laugh at her for wanting to go to work.
How do you all as white people feel about stopping a black woman from going to work?
Oh no, not work. I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work?
And this is what immigrant voters really think about Donald Trump's immigration and deportation policy. Take it away, CNN.
Immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats, more so than any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
And those immigrant voters are becoming increasingly pro-Trump, despite the non-stop lies and hysteria from the media painting Trump as some sort of racist.
There is no block of voters that shifted more to the right from 2020 to 2024 than immigrant voters, and Donald Trump, at least in some surveys, actually won that vote. On average, it's about equal. So there may be all this stuff, right, about undocumented immigrants and Trump being harsh on them, but immigrant voters themselves have increasingly liked Donald Trump and have increasingly moved to the right on immigration into the Republican camp.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Tina McQueen. Tina, no group of voters has more strongly moved into the Trump camp than immigrants, legal immigrants, and that's something that would blow the mind of the average political pundit.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, most of these legal immigrants have left countries where they're fearful of gangs, of, turmoil. So they're very protective of their status in America and are very reluctant and do not want these violent thugs, illegal thugs from other countries entering at all.
And one of the reasons for Trump having such strong backing on this issue from immigrants is that their view of illegal immigrants has changed markedly, really shifted dramatically in a few years. Let's have a look at that data.
How immigrant citizens, voters, feel about people in the country illegally.
Yeah, and this is where it all kind of comes together, Kate Baldwin. Look at this. The net favorable rating, immigrants who are here illegally, among immigrant citizens, again, those registered to vote. In 2020, look at this, plus 23 points on the net favorable rating. But look at where we were in 2024, minus 6 points, underwater. So immigrant citizens have become increasingly unfavorable in their views of those immigrants who are here illegally. So I think it's so important when we're talking about this debate from a political angle to separate those out who are undocumented immigrants versus those who are here legally and those who are citizens and those who are voters.
And Tina, I think a lot of legal immigrants are sick of being compared to illegal immigrants, having the issue conflated as if the term immigrant covers both groups when it doesn't. And a lot of people on the left, a lot of the so-called liberals in America make that mistake consistently.